What is up, sexy people? It is Dave, it is Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Australian Prog quintet Voyager. The band's new album, Fearless in Love, will be released on July 14th via Season of Mist Records. So, album number 8 from Voyager, which follows up the band's 2019 album, Colours in the Sun. And safe to say they've had quite the list of highlights since even we spoke to them way back in 2014, Duncan.
Long time ago. Yeah. We're almost lapping that, by the way. It's almost 10 years, so...
Yeah. Tours and shows with huge names like Devin Townsend, Leprous, Opeth, Deftones, even Poppy, and handpicked as the entrant into the global Eurovision Song Contest in 2023 with their song Promise.
Hashtag we was robbed.
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. I actually, just while we're still on that, I honestly thought, and I don't believe that I'm being biased here, but their track was the best track of the night.
Oh, we mentioned it on the podcast. Genre be damned. Of all the songs performed live, it was flawless.
Yeah.
And everyone, I don't want to be like that. I mean, she was singing to a backing track and these guys were playing, but I'm kind of going to lean into that. They were all playing their own instruments live. The stage show was fucking incredible, and they sounded fucking huge.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely huge. It was the point where, and we'll talk about it towards the end here, because they're going to be playing Scotland in a few months in a venue which feels like grossly small for a band that sims as big as this. Like, it was the point where I heard this where I genuinely felt like future festival headliner.
Mm-hmm.
That's how huge they fucking sounded.
Yeah.
And in part, it's difficult for me to conflate the Voyager that we met then with the band now, but at the same time it isn't, because I feel like back then we were already kind of like, watch these guys are going to be huge, and I think they've surpassed any level of what I thought they might be able to do, and they've almost surpassed we'll talk about it specifically. I think prog metal, there's a kind of understatement to what it is they actually do musically. Mm-hmm. I think things get flung into prog where people don't want to think about what it is they're listening to anymore. It's that prog stuff. And I kind of feel like Voyager kind of fairly and unfairly at times get lumped into that. So we'll see how we get on with this, Dave.
Yeah. In amongst all that stuff, in 2022 they crafted what would become Fearless in Love with engineer, mixer and co-producer Matt Templeman. This time around, the musicians recorded live, unlocking a new energy together. The band said, normally we write and record our parts individually, but the whole band decided to go old school and do everything together this time. The lineup has been together for 12 years and we gel so well. It's cool because we can play off each other like a live show with funky bass, groovy guitars and creative drum patterns. It translates to the album. So, as I said, we've been aware of Voyager since around 2013, 2014. We reviewed someone reviewed on the website at that time their fifth album, 5. We saw them in Glasgow. We interviewed them in the Blue Lagoon Chippy.
We went to a chip shop.
Yes, we did.
Because
classy.
And Simone, their guitarist, she's originally from Falkirk, which is the town that we live in. Yeah. So once again, we feel connected to Voyager, even though they're completely on the other side of the world.
Yeah, I think that could be. I know it predates Metal Epidemic, but it might be our most iconic interview to date, I think.
Oh, it's one of my favourites, mostly because a chip shop smell in the UK is absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
so I kind of won us round.
Haggis supper's being handed out as we're doing an interview.
That was right. We're passing. I know you ordered it and all like that in the middle of the interview, which is the best thing ever. But
awesome.
we're here with their album, and I joked on our most recent podcast. they're kind of the big time now. I don't know if we could get them into a chippy if they come.
I don't know. I think
it might have to be a wee bit more high market, you know, like classy, a Taco Bell or a KFC.
So new album, and it was only right, you know, we give it the Metal Epidemic double D review treatment and see what it's all about. So without further ado, let's get into this. So Duncan, what do you think? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to start with you because when I was listening to this album, I was thinking about you the whole time. I don't know about you, but I was thinking about you the whole time because every track there was something I'd be like, Duncan's going to love that. Duncan's going to love that. Like, because I know, and you've mentioned it many times before, you love the synths. You're a man of the synth.
I am a man of the synth when the synth is used right. I have, and some people would say I have very controversial views on the synthesizer and its use. I'm a purist, right?
Yes.
I'm a purist in that I believe I love bands that are just, I love synthwave and all the rest where it's a prominent instrument, right?
Yeah.
But to me, the synth is always best used when it elevates the song.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that it can't have a spotlight.
Sure.
But Voyager might be, a bold statement here, might be the best metal act to incorporate synths almost in every kind of element use, whether it's like a backing piece, you know, a kind of choral elevatory piece, or a solo piece, better than any band. Yeah, I'm actually quite comfortable with that, and I've listened to a lot of bands that use it. I think they do it the best, and once again, they make it sound just really easy. And I know those are, if we link it back to their Eurovision performance, there's a lot of people kind of leaning in on the fact that they was playing a guitar, and I know there's a connotation that comes with that from the 80s, but if you actually listen to their sound, it's kind of fitting.
Yeah.
A band that evoke a lot of aspects of kind of 80s pop and 80s rock. Voyager kind of do that, modernise it in the best possible way. When I was listening to this album, all I could think about was if Transformers, the movie, the cartoon, was made in 2023, Your Listen Love would be the soundtrack. Like every single song just kind of made me smile. This album is really, really, really difficult to pick a hole in. And trust me, I tried. I came at it from different angles, different listening times. Truth be told, I've listened to this album 10 times, which is a record for Metal Epidemic in terms of the time period we have it to review. I don't usually go much beyond 3 listens because I feel like I've formulated my opinion and after that may jeopardise, because that's not how I listen to music. I don't know about you, but if I get an album that I buy an album, which I don't do anymore because we get them for this review, but in the past you wouldn't get like the new fucking Machine Head album and play it 20 times in a week. You wouldn't do that. You would play it a couple of times and you go listen to the other music, you come back to it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I use Machine Head, because I also would never listen to it 20 times in a week. But I couldn't stop spinning this. And I think it has a quality that I was trying to listen back to again and again to find the bit that it dipped. Right? And this album frustratingly doesn't dip. It changes. It definitely has its more balladier moments, but they're so well put together that the album doesn't lose any steam or energy, which is really weird. That those moments are usually designed to bring things down. The Lamenting is the first track where the band purposely, and it's track 5, where they purposely add a kind of level of kind of 80s cheese and like kind of 80s ballad in there. It evokes a little bit of Level 42. It evokes a little bit of Human League. There's some shit happening there that I expected. I was like, alright, so this is the track where everything slows down, and then we'd already heard Submarine, we'd reacted to it last year. So I knew what was getting there, and then Promise is the track after that, which is their Eurovision entry. So I was like, right, and then we come back with the bangers. Lamenting by itself would be a fucking great single. Like, it is so frustratingly good as a standalone track, but in the context of the album is perfectly placed. And that's, at that point, I was like, right, so we have Submarine and Promise, the two big singles. Cool. We'll see how the album tapers off at the end. Daydream might be one of the best Voyager songs I've ever fucking heard.
Mm-hmm.
It is so infectiously catchy, and they may have won Eurovision with it if they'd used it. I kid, obviously. But it's so well done. This album feels like a band. It's not just leveling up, but completely transcending the genre that they're in. And that's why I was saying earlier on in our intro, I don't think prog metal actually even suits as a term, maybe on the back catalogue, but not now. I don't see them as a prog metal band anymore.
Yeah.
I see them as something else, and I don't know what I'd quantify it as. We listened to the Haken album earlier on this year, Fauna, and Love Bites was a track where we were like, this is just like the perfect single. It's like fucking incredible, absolutely amazing, it's 80s-tastic and all the rest. Imagine if you had a whole album of that, and that's Fearless in Love. The Best Intentions starts off with a kind of almost, in a lot of respects, a very safe Voyager sound, but it eases you in. It gives you, it's like the Rosetta Stone to the album. It gives you all the elements you're going to get. Nice, beautiful, cream cliff kind of vocal melodies, and we're going to come back to that. Every track has just got an earworm. I just like, every track might as well just say to you, you'll be singing this for a week afterwards. But it parses everything out. The synths are well used, the guitars are really well, like, everything's just, is great. Prince of Fire's the next track, and that starts to elevate things. It starts to pull you up a little bit, and then you get a 1-2 punch of Ultraviolet and Dreamer. Ultraviolet is a kind of 80s classic banger. Dreamer, like the synths, are kind of almost 8-bit Game Boy Sims. So you get all this kind of quirky little stuff going on in the background, and the band just not even paying attention to it. It's not as if they're trying to write the song around what the synths are doing. It's the other way around. It's just an element that's incorporated that fills out the sound. Like I mentioned like earlier on, Lamenting feels like a track which is designed as their big ballad piece. And it works, totally works. It doesn't slow the album down, which is great. Submarine is like a classic Voyager banger. It's full of guitar solos, synth solos, heavy as well. You forget, that's the thing about Voyager, they lull you in with the saccharine sweet vocals and the quirky 80s synths. You forget that they have a gear they can drop into when it comes to the guitar. And when they drop that guitar and do that kind of genty bow, you're like, you do feel yourself going, oh, yeah, fucking bastard. And they don't overuse it on this album. But at the same time, it's never, I was never at any song going, I wish that had been a bit heavier. It always comes in at the right bit, always adds exactly what you want, and then it moves out to let what do. The guitar solos are fucking fire on this one. Like, just like the best of your Van Halens and all that 80s shit. Like, it's the best of that just captured here. The synth work is fucking great. I could spend a whole other show just talking about how great the synths are. So much personality, so much quirk, so much style, texture, attitude, and conveyance on the tracks. I think sometimes a synth player in a band feels like there's a confine about what they can do, and they never, like, I always think about like the bands that do kind of the virtuoso stuff, and Children of Bodom were always that band that used to hear the synth stuff and that and go, that's fucking insane, how quick he is and all the rest. But there's a reason that is always utilised exactly the same way in their songs, and that's because they've got virtuoso guitar players and all the rest, so he's just an element in the band. I think a lot of the fact that the synths are being written by the guy that's conveying the vocals gives it a really interesting, and I'm not saying that as a vocalist synth player, but I think it adds something else. It's counter melody, it's something in the background to elevate a part, it's just a backing beat at times, but it's always used with direct purpose to elevate the song and differentiate them. You know what I mean? Like, all the songs have their own identity, mostly because of what the synths are doing. So it's very, very, very smartly done, and it is, trust me, as someone that did it for a long time, it's so easy to fuck up. It's so easy to like pick a wrong sound, or do the wrong thing, or play the wrong note, or have it on the wrong part. It's just really easy to do that, and they never put a foot wrong on this album. You Come At a Promise, which is huge sounding. It's like it should be played in fucking arenas. It should be played at Wembley. It's fucking huge sounding. And then the band take you on a twisty-turny road with Twisted, which kind of gives the album a bit more breathing room again. It's playing with some cool concept. Once again, the guitar work's impeccable. And then you get Daydream, and Daydream, like I mentioned before, is chef's kiss. It's the perfect 80s single that we never got in the 80s. It's fucking incredible. Listen carries the track through into the last track, Gren, which is the one where they move back into the more proggier elements that we know. It is fucking huge. Like, it's the most interesting synth-wise. It's the most interesting guitar-wise. Vocally, he stretches his range into places he doesn't do in the rest of the album. And it finishes in just this wave of euphoria. And then it's almost impossible to not hit play again. It's like the album is daring you. Like, try it. Go and not hit play again. And I'm weak, Dave. I'm a weak guy. You know what I mean? I'm the sort of guy that if I see boobs on the TV, I'm finding an excuse to go to the toilet. I'm weak-willed at the best of times, right? And this album tapped into that. I think, guitar-wise, the riffs are... In fact, everything about this is memorable. The drum work is incredibly memorable. You forget how good he is. He's very understated in a lot of parts, and then you get those little flurries, and you're like, oh, you're just like holding that back, have you? Yeah. Bass work, I mean, lush, full tone, sits and accompanies, whilst also getting a little chance to move into the forefront. Everyone shines on the album. Yeah. The guitar work is absolutely impeccable. Riffs are great. Solos, so well constructed. Like, bands can have, like, every single song with a great guitar solo. Like, someone needs to go and speak... Someone from Voyager needs to go and sit with Metallica and get Kurt back writing the good shit. And then vocals. I think this is his best album. I think this is... It's not even his best album by, like, a margin. This is his best album, hands down. I think vocally this is an incredible album. Everything is catchy. It's poppy. It's memorable. The backing vocals as well, which give you that wee bit. We mentioned it before. There's a wee bit Devy in there, and obviously touring with Devin Townsend has not done them any harm there. But it adds a little bit of gruff to the sweet sound. Yeah. And it's perfect. It's a perfect album. This is like genuinely, I think this is the best thing the band's ever done, and I genuinely think this band should be headlining arenas just playing this album. Play the old shit as well, but it's an impeccable album. I couldn't find fault with it at all. It's brilliant. It's effortless, and that's the word that kept coming back was how easy these guys make this sound. Like it feels at this stage of their career like they could churn these out as if as if it was nothing, and it is so huge sounding. I'm gonna listen to this album to death this year. I know for a fact. I'd said before that I thought a couple of weeks ago that Drain, who released an amazing punk, kind of hardcore punk album, I'd played it so many times already that it was going to probably be that or Poison Ruin were going to be my end of the year highlight top albums. It's going to be Voyager. I'm calling it now. I can't get sick of it. It makes me happy. Yeah. As a great vocalist once said, Dave, if it makes you happy, it can't be that bad. If it makes you happy, then why the hell are you so sad? You shouldn't be sad. You should tell me what you think of Voyager.
We kind of mentioned, like, off air before we started recording that I kind of felt sorry for the other albums that we were reviewing this week because Voyager basically just took up all my time. And I gave those other albums their day in court, obviously, and gave them a listen. But in between, I was just coming back to this constantly. It's just like, what an album. Like, if you listen to this band, where they've came from, and even like going back to like the fifth album that we reviewed back in the day, like, it was a great album. I love that album. But if you listen to like where they are now, it's like unbelievable. What I really admire about Voyager is the fact that even though they are very high level musically, I think like people could listen to this and think, oh, like, you know, they're the press release kind of quantified or classed them as pop prog, and I was like, yeah, it's been like pretty good genre for like to kind of encapsulate their sound, but there is so much going on here, especially in the musician itself. These guys are tremendous musicians and songwriters.
You can sleep on parts. You can sleep on songs as being not basic bitches, but you can forget it, and then they will hit you with a segment where it's a guitar flurry or like a drum solo or a bit of synth work or a vocal part, and then you're like, what? Where the fuck did?
Yeah.
And they have that for days as back pocket stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what's interesting is they've clearly taken the time to continue to evolve in between every release. We got into them on kind of album 5, and just like, as I said, the difference between that album and this album is huge. And as I said, I loved that album, but what we've got now is a band that deliver on a musical and technical level that will have the kind of prog fans and musicians and lovers of really like high level playing really excited when they hear this, because there's a level of this that has that kind of muso type appreciation about it. However, it's also an album that's filled just with absolute bangers. Like this is so like, it's hookier than a fucking fishing tackle shop. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I was going for something sea related.
A fisherman's pocket.
I was going Voyager sea.
I don't know where we're going, but I want to go on it.
Bottom line is this is their
fishing line. I like it.
This is their catchiest album to date. It's got the playing chops, but it's also got the choruses that are going to have you singing along with ease. And every track kind of gives you something different to experience. And I don't want to use the obvious line here, but one of us has to. Takes you on a bit of a voyage, Duncan.
It's journey's what we usually use, but another word for a journey is a voyage, Dave. Yeah. So that's a double drink from this guy.
A voyage which kind of pays homage to different eras, different shades of emotion and intensity. There are moments that will have you high and just really in a real uplifting mood. There are tracks that venture into some of their heaviest riffs to date. Yep. And then there are a couple of areas that tackle something, again with the tackle, I don't know where I'm going, with something a bit not kind of negative, but a slightly darker theme, which gives it the album a different streak. But for the most part, it is probably weighted towards the positive and upbeat, which, to be honest, makes you exit this album with a huge smile on your face. And I guarantee you will be humming multiple melodies from it. Just to kind of touch on some of my favourites from the album, to give you a kind of taste of things. But to be honest, every track kind of has.
You're just gonna read the track like, here are my favourite tracks 1 through 11.
It's so difficult to narrow it down, and the way they've kind of ordered the album, it makes sure that you never really switch off from it. There is no lull or middle of the album interlude, you know what I mean, where they just keep you engaged and hooked in the whole time. And it's from the get-go on The Best Intentions, which kicks off with a great synth melody. It really sets up the catchy vocal rhythm and the guitars. And I didn't know about the recording setup on my first listen of the album.
No, these guys never can record separately again.
No.
Like, if you're watching this video, never record separately. Like, honestly, like, whatever happened in that room is fucking magic, and you need to make sure it happens again.
Yes, and it was very apparent on that first track that there was a kind of unity there that I don't think I've ever heard on a Voyager album before. The band sound completely locked in, and even the recording itself has like a kind of live ambience to it. Like it didn't feel like studio edited or like snapped to a grid. It felt very natural and just had a really great kind of flow to it. Which then moves on to Prince of Fire, which for me it could be one of the band's heaviest tracks. Like the guitars sound fucking huge on that track, and that kind of epic layer of synths in the background just elevates it up to a colossal size. But I love how they kind of push and pull the track. They give you plenty of heaviness and groove-laden moments, but also giving you verses which are a little bit more spacious, letting the bass come through, be a bit more playful. And why wouldn't you? Like when you've got a guy like Alex on bass, his playing is incredible.
So good, man.
I mentioned earlier the kind of expertise they have in their playing, but he puts on a clinic on this album. But it doesn't ever feel like one person is kind of leading the dance either. Like they all give just as good a performance in their own ways. As you said, the solos and the lead work from Simone and Scott are epic. I love that kind of 80s spirit that bled into a lot of the solos and the synth work as well, which as you heard, Duncan was harder than granite listening to a lot of the synth stuff. But
I would like to say I'm easily pleased, and I would agree.
And Ash as well, like he knows exactly when to just sit in the pocket behind the kit, and then when to add a little bit more flavour to the tracks as well. Dreamer, I fucking loved it. It's like a pop prog anthem, just very clever arrangement, great choice of keys to keep the track driving forward, with the guitars coming in just at the right time to kind of lift them into that kind of heavier realm. Submarine we reacted to, which kind of fits into a similar category. It's very poppy, with the synth kind of soaked verses and then a big chorus backed with huge sounding guitars. And as much as I am not the biggest fan of Mr. Townsend, and people will probably throw shade at me for that, but I just never really got it. However, there are certain guitar techniques and even and in the backing vocals as well that do remind me of Devi T.
The aggro melody tones certainly, but there's a difference between wanting to emulate and actually using it correctly, and it's used correctly in here. It's a perfect end to the song.
For sure. The end of Submarine has that in spades, but I fucking loved it. The lamenting, as you mentioned, another one of those moments that on the album where it kind of drops you into something more melancholic, where the melody shifts to a slightly darker edge, both vocally and in the synth work. And it's a great time to kind of show that other side as well. The track is almost in the middle of the album, so it is a really nice change of tone before Submarine, and then the Eurovision banger Promise, which kind of picks you back up.
So good. Like, by the way, don't want to stress we was robbed, but it's so fucking good, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The last track, Gren, is the kind of longest track at just under 5.5 minutes. But what a classy closing track on your album.
Good,
just everything about it is really tasteful. The solos, the keys are really subtle, and the drums, the way they kind of build the track, and then this really grand chorus which has some really well placed lead work to kind of play off and coat the vocal melodies as well, which was really clever. It just felt really genuine, really kind of heartfelt. I haven't mentioned the vocals yet because I felt like I could have mentioned them on every track that I spoke about. Think I'd agree. I think Danny sounds the most confident I've ever heard him. His delivery is spot on. The melodies he chose on each track were clever. He's absolutely pitch perfect. It's hugely hook laden, but also very authentic. I agree. I think this is his best performance by far. This is for me Voyager at their very best. This is super slick, it's balanced, it's Moorish, and it's delivered impeccably. Just to kind of reiterate, I loved the production quality of the album as well. I think it's got real punch to it and it's real warmth, but I love that almost kind of live quality about it as well. It captivated me even more when I heard it. Hats off to you guys. I think you've done an absolutely stellar job with this one. Ratings for the new album from Voyager, Fearless in Love. What are you coming in with on this one?
Maybe the easiest 5 of the year. I keep joking about this. I've given it a lot of 5s this year. I genuinely have, and some people will be like that. Duncan has clearly. It's too many years reviewing albums that he's just giving it the 5s.
Yeah.
I challenge anyone to find anything wrong with this album. You're not going to be able to, and if you do, you're a bit of a dick. It's the perfect Voyager album. I think this is the best thing the band's done.
Yeah.
And I think they've set a kind of new bar for them, which I also think is going to be really difficult to top. But yeah, this kind of feels like their moment. Like 2023 might be the beginning. They've already done Eurovision, but this might be the start of this year. Their year.
Yeah.
I think the sky's the limit. I don't think there's a glass ceiling for Voyager. I think they could literally do anything they want.
Yeah.
And we will be there, whether it's in a chippy or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, what a great time to drop an album like this after coming off of something like Eurovision, and then this is what you're delivering to the fans.
First Australian entry to crack the top 10.
Yeah.
As well, which ain't no mean feat because the rest of your entries before this were shite.
Yeah, I totally 100% agree with you. This is an easy 5 out of 5 from me as well. Just stunning release. And a nicer bunch of people you will not meet either. We, as I mentioned, we chatted to them. They are super down to earth, humble, just generally just good cunts. You know what I mean? Like, which is
I appreciate that.
That's a term of endearment in Scotland, by the way.
as it is in Australia. So
yeah. I couldn't be happier for them. I really hope that the Eurovision experience has just put a kind of shitload more eyes and ears on the band. And they deserve all the success from this album because it is fucking stunning, like just front to back. As you said, nothing negative, nothing I could find about it that I disliked. So the new album, Fearless in Love, will be released on July 14th on Season of Mist. Check it out. Links below to the band, to the pre-order. Have a look, have a listen. Let us know what you think. That is our review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.